what's in my toolbox. I've received a couple of requests from the viewers and my Patreons, and once again, thanks to my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, we cannot do as many of these shows as we do. So keep supporting us on Patreon. Patreons have the ability to give me comments and come up with some ideas on what they would like to see on the next feature. So thanks to the guys. We're going to be covering what's in my toolbox. This is obviously, it's different for each vehicle, it's different for each person, it's different for the length of stay, but I pretty much keep my toolbox packed. It doesn't matter if I'm going out for a day trip or if I'm going out for a month. So what I have in here pretty much covers what most people would need. I'll give you some tips on the things that I prefer, makes life a lot easier. It's not necessarily a must-have, or it's something that take this, and this is the 100% toolbox that you need to have. Again, it's up to each individual person. It's up to each individual person and what your knowledge of the vehicle is as well. So let's get started. First and foremost, I think the most important is accessibility to a high visibility jacket. Look, if you're going to be opening this, and hopefully it's not a major breakdown, but if you are parked next to the road and you're not off the beaten track, very important. This is probably the first thing that you're going to take out of your toolbox, followed by a good set of gloves. Now, I prefer gloves like these, nice Kevlar gloves. A lot of people prefer the surgical gloves for the grease and so on and so forth. I have surgical gloves. They stay in my medical kit, so if I'm doing repacking bearings and so on, I obviously would not use these. I would use the surgical gloves, but these are great protection, great gloves, so gloves second. Right, I have a bunch of, I don't use tent pegs anymore. With the tent and the awning that I have, I don't have to use tent pegs, but these bags are great. I fill it up with, this is just parachute cord and extra pieces of rope and so on. Great for tying things down. You can just cut it up, and multi-purpose, helping yourself to tie everything down. I have a bunch of them with all sorts of small things. What's in here? Little clips for the little stretchies, so on and so forth. So all your little finicky things that go missing in a toolbox like this, I tend to roll up in these. They're nice and protected. It doesn't rattle around. You know, from small little electrical things, this is the electrical side of things, little Jubilee clips, so on and so forth. The Jubilee clips always go missing, and you're always digging in your toolbox to find a Jubilee clip. So you know all your Jubilee clips are in here. I've got various things, joining wire, you know, just side of the road, fix it really quickly, and a whole bunch of these to help ease the repair as quick as possible. So tent bags, great option for putting all the little nitty and gritty things, whatever you might use, in there, and you're not going to be looking in a crowded space like this for a small little item. So they're in there, they don't go anywhere, you can tie them up. Right, so let's go next. I carry electrical wire, different sizes. I do like to spend some time around the campsite if we camped up for a couple of days to do additional features to the vehicle. My next task is already packed in here, so the next trip we go, it's in here somewhere. Oh yes, is to fit an extra socket to the trailer. So I have that in here already, so I can wire it up. I've got some good electrical wiring, and I've just got the normal flex wiring to get that up and running as an extra 12 volt. I also have another task to do the next time. Renogy, this is a high precision watt meter and power analyzer. This is for my solar panels. So my solar panels, I can see the voltage coming in, but I want to analyze what's being used and how much is coming in versus how much I'm draining, so that I'm putting enough power in my batteries to last. So these are little things that I would do while I'm on a trip in the morning, before breakfast, or so on and so forth. So keeps you busy, keeps your mind sane. Right, power tools. Power tools, I tell you what, a lot of people say it takes up a lot of space. It takes, you know what, it does take a lot of space. A rattle gun, instead of you going out there and manually trying to loosen your tires, remember one thing, you're sitting in a vehicle, you're traveling up to 6 hours a day, and you're not exercising your back. The last thing you want to do is stop on the side of the road and try and wrangle the nut that's been tightened, or the heat of the tire, or whatever the case may be, has expanded, and that nut is so tight, and guaranteed you're going to pull a muscle in your back. So having rattle guns like this, general purpose drill or a screwdriver just makes your life easier. It's a quick repair, nice and easy. A tip that I do have is carry the batteries separate. The last thing you want is one of these to go while you're driving, and by the time you need to use it, they're flat. So recommend to pack them without the battery. I have got the batteries on charge while I drive, so the inverter is on when I'm driving, and I'm charging camera gear and so on, and at the same time I'm charging the additional batteries for both of these, so as well as the satellite phone. So ensure that your batteries are always charged, because without that you're just wasting a lot of space in your toolbox. Right, so next, I think every single vehicle out there should have your zip ties, right? So different sizes. I prefer the black ones. The white ones don't seem to last in the heat over here. So I have different sizes for different applications. Nice and easy to get to. As soon as something goes loose, especially on the corrugation, these things, tell you what, worth, well, they're not really weigh much, but worth their weight in gold. Right, so what's up next? I have 2 cans of, because you can never have enough lubrication, so WD-40 to get rid of those tight nuts, or just to give it some lubrication, especially when things start rusting. If you're close to the ocean, it's nice just to give everything a good spray. Duct tape, as important as your zip ties. You can fix anything with that. If there's anything that you need in your vehicle, that's probably one of the most important things. Bit of wire, multi-purpose. Right, so let's move on. This is just an extension for a 12-volt socket. Very handy, especially around the campsites. So I carry this in my toolbox because there's nowhere else to put it. Right, next, tire repair kit. Make sure that you've got a good tire repair kit, good branded tire gauge. These little ones that you just press in and it sticks out the little plastic, or most of the digital ones are really crappy. So spend money on this, because this is, you lose too many tires. Without tires, you're not going to go anywhere, and can spoil a trip really quickly. So spend a lot of money on that. Good quality. My recovery hitch stays in here as well. As I've been pulling a trailer for most of the last couple of trips, I have the trailer hitch on there, but doing a recovery, important to keep this. Do not do any recoveries with your tow hitch. You're just looking for an absolute disaster to happen. Great, moving on. The Jeremy Clarkson tool, cannot fix it without this. Nicely weighted, I think this is a 2-pound, but gets the job done for most things. The only thing Jeremy Clarkson would have would be that. Right, I also carry a little flame starter. These are fantastic. You know, I do not weld with copper, but I hear that the guys can do this. They can braze weld with this. But to start off the fire, right, so as I'm busy recording this, my GoPro Hero 3, the good old faithful, battery is running flat. So I also carry additional cables in here, and they vary in length, 1 meter to 5 meters. So for occasions like this, where my GoPro has gone flat, I can quickly charge her up and we can continue with this. Okay, we're back. So if you don't have power supplies mounted in the back of the vehicle like I do, we were discussing the extension. The extension would have come in handy right now. Right, let's move on. So we discussed a little flamethrower, starting fires, great, all-purpose, heating things up. I've just showed you the cables, additional cables that I carry for all purpose, USB cables. Let's get into the tools. Soft carry pack for your spanners, and basically all sizes, because you never know what you're going to need. This is going from actually a size 5, and it runs all the way to a size 24, every single one of them. It rolls up nice and neat, nice and tidy, and it doesn't rattle around when you're driving in the vehicle. So these little soft packs, great. You can buy a cheap set just to get the soft pack and put your expensive tools in there, whichever way you like. Okay, sticking with the spanners, I also have recently purchased these. So these have got the ratchet on the end. Man, do they make life easy. I know I'm carrying 2 pairs now, but this to get in, especially under the roof rack, when you're traveling a lot on the gas tracks, the roof rack does come loose, and trying to get in there with just a normal spanner, and it takes forever. Sticking this in and just quickly working it like a socket. I love these to bits, so I carry both. It's nice to have 2 sets of a size 10, 13, 15, especially those that you utilize a lot depending on the vehicle that you carry or the vehicle that you have. So I carry those as well. Small socket set. Now you say, do I need that as well as a small socket set? Well, the small socket set gives me the ability to go into places where I cannot reach with a star Allen key and also screwdriver. So hard to find places. Again, do you need it? Probably not. I prefer it, so I carry it. All right, every single one of us has lost a bolt in the motor, so a nice set of magnetic telescopic retrieval kit, as well as the little mirrors. It's great to get out there and just find the nuts and bolts that you've lost, especially when you only have 1 nut or 1 bolt for that application. Again, is it a necessity? No, but when you only have 1 size nut, tell you what, that is an absolute necessity. I also carry soldering iron with solder. The solder's in the main toolbox. Multi-purpose glue, right? So this is for metal, wood, glass, ceramic, concrete. I haven't used it yet, but probably the time that I'm needed, I'm going to say that it's an absolute necessity. Oh, bug spray. How many times have you stopped next to the road and there's something that's rattling and you're getting underneath the vehicle and the mosquitoes are just chewing your legs? So I've learned, I carry this in my toolbox. The first thing I do if I'm in a wooded area or it's a wetland, first thing I'll do, spray the legs and then get underneath the vehicle and start looking for my issue. So is it an absolute tool that needs in the toolbox? No. Out of pure irritation of the bugs, necessity. Right, so for the rattle gun, I've got some nice long sockets. These are great. You know, most vehicles are different on the retrieving the wheels, so you need the longer pieces. Also I've had in the past where we've been from extreme heat in the desert to the absolute cold riverbeds. I had a couple of nuts come loose from the heat to the cold on the U-bolts that hold the leaf springs. So you need to have long sockets to be able to get in there, because the nut goes in and obviously the U-bolt sticks out quite a bit. So absolute must-have as far as I'm concerned. General steel saw with a couple of blades. Right. Good 12-volt measure. If you're traveling through a lot of water, a lot of dust, guaranteed somewhere along the line something's going to come loose, and this helps you to find it. So definitely one of those. I carry a whole bunch of spring washers, and the reason being, when you're stopping, especially in the Middle East, when you stop next to most of the little hardware stores, they only sell nuts, non-lock nuts. So good thing to carry with you, especially when you're doing a quick repair and you don't have any lock nuts with you. So I carry that with me. Basic electrical kit to join your wires. I also keep my fuses in here. So anything electrical, immediately I've got all the different fuses, the large ones, the skinny ones, the glass fuses, so a couple of shrinking tools. So any electrical fault, this is not the best set in the world, but it's only to mend it to get me to the next point or next town or next city where I can do a proper mend. So repair kits for the road. Right, so small screwdriver set for all the small little finicky things, especially sunglasses. Again, your sunglasses come off and you need to fasten those. A toolbox normally doesn't carry it, and losing your sunglasses on a 10-day trip can be just as bad as losing 2 tires. My water purification. Keep my water purification tablets in there. Mosquito coils. Then I have a general box. All right, so this general box just has nuts, bolts, washers of all different sizes that my vehicle will have. So from 4mm all the way, I think I've got up to 12mm over here. And then I have for the bigger repairs, I have got a kit which I'll show you now. Some more heavy duty bolts, and then the toolbox. So I keep this, it's a soft toolbox. This carries pretty much your multi-tool. So you've got your screwdrivers, some masking tape, wire cutters, pliers, 2 different sizes of pliers, long nose pliers, big shifting spanner. So these are basically your bush mechanics. This toolbox comes out, bush mechanics, everything's in here. Allen keys, very important. A full set of Allen keys. The star Allen key set, important as well. Vice grip, very important. If you're traveling alone, you don't have somebody else to hold up something, so the vice grip can clamp it. Let's see what else is interesting over here. This is generally a mess, but that's what happens with these toolboxes. So your vice grip. Oh yes, and what else is quite important is just your normal correction pen. This is nice to make a mark, especially when you need to drill a new hole. The white marker pen or the white correction fluid marks pretty much on anything. So great thing to carry with you. Insulation tape, very important. And I also carry 3M. Oh, and it's come loose. And hence a pair of scissors as well. But your 3M is a lifesaver. This stuff's expensive, but worth its weight in gold once again. It's absolutely, this helps out as much as your duct tape also. Good to carry. Something new. Right, so just your wire stripper. Man, I'm so sick and tired of biting onto, especially when you get to your 6-core, your 4-core electrical wiring. It's an absolute bastard. And if you take your Stanley knife and try and cut it, the chances of you cutting your finger and then spoiling your trip is quite good. So one of these, absolutely great. It just strips it in 2 seconds. Right, I think that's it for my toolbox. Oh, a couple of nice things. I've got my fishing knife in here. This is quite a nice gadget. Gadgets. A lot of the time when the wind's blowing and you want to just tie down a tarpaulin, these are great. They just fold through, a little rubber piece. You fold it around the tarpaulin and then basically can tie your tarpaulin. I'll just shine it over here so you can see. Multi-purpose, just things to make life easier. And then my fire starter. Oh yes, very important, a file. There's so many times that you need to either get something to the right size and your hacksaw is not going to do the job. Filing something, I normally carry a round one as well, but I don't seem to find it over here, so I'll have to replace that. So a flat, curved edge and a round one just to assist you on that hard to fix little job. Additional straps. So these are just lightweight straps. I carry ratchet straps. I've got about 4 or 5 ratchet straps over here. If something goes wrong and I need to really tie the suspension up. So the ratchet straps are really good over there with tie downs and rope and so on and so forth. But these are just multi-purpose. Something goes loose on the roof, you can just tie it down really quick. Done. Heavy duty tools I carry on the side over here. Couple of fuel filters. You ask, why do I carry one of these as well as my rattle gun? If I didn't charge my rattle gun, I'm going to need one of these. As important as your high visibility jacket, your triangle's just as important. I've got 2 of them. I carry the cone as well. This cone is pretty cool. It just stretches out like that, and it's right, nice and easy. It's compact, so great little thing to carry around with you. It just folds into something really small. But it's important to put these out before you start working on your vehicle next to the road. All right, some heavy stuff. So the heavy goods are a must for big repairs. You can do pretty much anything with the toolbox over here, but carrying a good socket set, full socket set is definitely needed. The rattle gun obviously fits the same size over here, so make sure when you get your rattle gun and your tools are the same size. The last thing you want is get a rattle gun and then you open up this and they're not fitting. Another important part of the toolbox, which I suppose is also part of your recovery gear, is a very good set of jumper cables. Now, geez, I tell you what, I've done try to start some vehicles, and the guys have got these skinny little jumper cables. Invest in some good quality jumper cables and you'll never go wrong. Another gadget that I've just recently put into the vehicle that I travel with is one of these battery self-starter kits. Now, for me that run 3 batteries and my startup battery is totally isolated, I don't need one of these. It's a nice to have because it's able to kick over my diesel motor. It's a great battery pack for me as well. It's got a torch, the whole bang shoot, and up in the tent I utilize this. Got a couple of USB ports, but if you're only running 1 battery and you're running a fridge, definitely have one of these, because the jumper cables are going to help you only when you have another vehicle. This is a lifesaver when you don't have another vehicle. So nice, compact, nice and light. They are nice to have, not a must, a nice to have. And then lastly, in my toolbox is one of these siphoning gadgets with a little ball bearing inside. And I'm so sick and tired of swallowing petrol and swallowing diesel. I've had one of these in my car for probably the last 8 years or so since they've been released. Stick it in, just bounce it up and down, and the diesel flows into the tank. So great to have. Stick it in a plastic bag, because otherwise your whole toolbox will smell like diesel or fuel. And then you can carry it separately. Fan belts, right? So depending on the vehicle, will depend on the sizes, depending on how many you need. Important, you can get the multi-fan belt just to get you to the next city. Know how to change them. Basically know your vehicle, and this will vary from vehicle to vehicle depending on your vehicle and your knowledge, like I mentioned in the beginning. All right, so that's my toolbox. Yes, it's extensive. Yes, you could go with less. This is what I prefer to go with. My wife and I travel on our own. We're the only vehicle out there, so I cannot rely on somebody else's tools. So I have to go heavy with the tools. I have to ensure that I've got everything over here to repair whatever comes at me on the vehicle. If you'd like me to review anything else on the truck and what I pack when we go overlanding, please put it in the comments below. My Patreon supporters, you know where to message me. I read those first. So we'll catch you on the dusty roads. If it's dusty, drive it.